Welcome to Rambam in Depth. Today we will be concluding the Rambam and focusing on the very last halacha, the end of Perik Yud Beis of Hilchos Malachim uMelech HaMashiach. The Rambam describes what it's going to be like L'Asid Lavei in Yemais HaMashiach. U'Ba'is HaZman Le'yir Sham Le'Rav Le'Melchama V'Le'Kinu V'Sachrus. In that time there will be no hunger, no war, no jealousy, no rivalry. Why is that? So we explain, Shahateva tia mushpas harba, because the good will be bestowed in bountiful ways. V'chol hamadanim etzim ka'afar, and all the delights will be as available as the dust of the earth. And v'layeh esakol olam el ladas es Hashem bilvad, the preoccupation of the whole world will not be anything else but to know God. Ulefichach, and because of that, Yiyu Chachamim Gedalim, the Jewish people will be great Chachamim. In some versions it actually says Yisrael. V'yadim Dvarim Hastumim Ha'mukim, and they will know the hidden things, the deep things. V'yasigu Das Barim K'vikeich Adam, they will grasp the knowledge of their Creator to the capacity of a human being. And this is based on a pasuk in Yeshaya. Shenemar, as it says, the whole world will be filled with the knowledge of God as the water covers the sea. So here there are a few things. Question number one says there will be no more jealousy. Okay, no more famine. We already have a world in which there's enough food for everyone. The reason why there might be starvation is because people are not accessing it. Or there's corruption and withholding it from their people. But there's enough food to feed the whole world. There's no reason to have any famine anywhere. And if it's human intervention that is preventing people from getting their food, that won't be around. That won't be the case anymore, because people will no longer have the desire to be corrupt. It'll be a good world. The fact that there will be no wars, again, that you can understand, because there already have been peace processes in many places of the world where people who were enemies were no longer enemies. We saw the collapse of the Soviet Union. Of course, that was a miracle, but it's a miracle that's within nature. But when it says there will be no more jealousy and rivalry, how could it be there will no more jealousy? Jealousy is an ingrained human defect. It started with Cain, who was jealous of Hevel, and throughout history, you even see the first brothers that didn't have jealousy were Ephraim and Menashe. But jealousy is such a pervasive trait, and the Rambam himself said before there will be no major changes in the nature of the world. So how could there be this change? There will be no more jealousy. So simple answer is that the Rambam agrees that eventually, in the second stage of the Messianic age, there will be Tchias HaMesim, which is certainly a miracle. There will also be the change of human nature. That could also happen. But one could say that even in the first stage, this could happen, because when we define nature, nature is really defined the way Torah defines nature, because Torah, the Yerushalmi, famous Yerushalmi says, exercises control over nature. If the Sanhedrin decided to add a month to the year, so the biological changes that would happen at a certain age are reversed, because the year was stretched out to add another month to the year. In other words, the Sanhedrin, which represents the Koach of Torah, has the power to change nature. Right now, we don't have that power of Torah. We don't have the Sanhedrin. But when Mashiach comes, and the Sanhedrin will be restored, and there will be a shleimus, the Torah will be complete. There will be nothing missing in terms of the application of Torah. We'll be able to fulfill all the commandments, all the mitzvahs, which is really the basis for what Mashiach is all about. According to the Rambam, it's about shleimus HaTorah. If that's the case, then Torah itself dictates nature. So that's part of the nature of the world. The fact that today it isn't that way is because we're not experiencing the shleimus of Torah. But with the shleimus of Torah, there will no longer be a problem. Then he says that the whole world will be engaged in the knowledge of God. There will be no exceptions, no limits. So the question the Rebbe asks, how do we reconcile that with what the Rambam says in the very beginning in Hilchos Yeseidah HaTorah, that Chachmas HaEmes, there are some Dvarim Amukim, very profound ideas, that Ein Kol Das V'Das Ruya L'Savla, and most people can't tolerate it. It's too much for everyone. And the Gemara in Chagiga says that you have to keep certain things under wraps. It should be for yourself, and don't publicize it. So how could it be when Mashiach will come that the whole world, everyone, will be engaged in this knowledge without any limits, when the Rambam himself says there are limits. So the answer the Rebbe gives, a very obvious answer, that there's nothing in the Hefza of Pnimius Torah, of the secrets of the Torah, there's nothing in the Hefza that is off limits to anyone. It's the Gavra, it's the person is not worthy, is not capable, is not qualified, is not empowered to access this knowledge. But in the days of Mashiach, Yemesa Mashiach, that will no longer be a problem. The Gavra will change, and therefore the Hefza has no impediment. There's nothing that says you can't learn this. It's just that we have the ability. It's not shaykh to everyone, but when Mashiach will come, everyone will have access to it because it's not inherently off limits. In addition to that, we find that the Arizal himself, in spite of the fact that before the Arizal there were only a handful of people who were able to learn the teachings of Kabbalah, but the Arizal's period came, and he says mitzvah. Now it's a mitzvah to publicize this knowledge. Why? Because Eis Lasis Hashem, it was a time, an emergency time. The generation needed it to awaken people, to strengthen their Avodas Hashem. So it was allowed to publicize these teachings beyond the level that was allowed previously. In addition to that, we need a hachana in order for these teachings not be completely a revolutionary change. We have to have a hachana preparation. So these teachings have become exposed, so we can prepare for the time when it'll become widespread to everyone. But the truth is that there's no inherent impediment to studying these teachings, even according to the Rambam.